Hey, ladies, welcome to the Single Moms United podcast. I'm so excited to bring another episode to you today. I just cannot believe how quickly the summer has gone by and that it's now time for back to school. It seems like it was just yesterday I was doing an episode about school's out. Now what? Now school's getting ready to be back in. Now what? So that's what I want to talk to you about today. If this is your first time listening, welcome. If you're a repeat listener, thank you for joining. Hopefully you will find value in this podcast as it's designed to motivate and provide critical thinking skills on how to best parent your children as a single mom. So, as I mentioned before, today I'm just going to focus on back to school. I know once upon a time ago, in my earlier years, when I was in school, I hated getting up in the morning. I think that was the worst part for me. And I'm sure for some kids, a good majority of kids, I don't think it's an issue with going back to school, but having to get up, get in that routine of getting ready every day, going to catch the bus and all of that. And everybody's not wired like that. I wasn't wired like that. Got through it though, but I wasn't wired like that. And we have to adjust and say, it's okay to be like that, but you're going to have to sacrifice because in real life, once you get out there and get a job and start your career, discipline is going to be required and you're going to have to get up, get moving, get motivated. So why not start now? All right, so I have a couple of tips and some additional comments about the tips that I'm going to provide you. Now, these are not in any exact order. Again, this is not a one size fits all, but a one size fits most. Again, to get you thinking about getting your child or your children prepared to go back to school. Wow, I can't believe I'm saying that. That's just crazy. This year is flying by. Okay, so as I'm watching TV and I'm attending church, I'm seeing everywhere that many places are collecting back to school supplies, which is fantastic, ladies. If you're on a serious budget, again, news outlets are, having people bring donations in different areas. So what I would do or suggest you do as one option to try to get those school supplies you need is definitely contact a news outlet. And again, you can Google the ones in your area. You can either call them or email them and say, hey, do you have any type of school supply donation that's happening? And the reason why I say that is because if you don't regularly watch the news, which is okay, you may be missing out on some of these critical opportunities to get free school supplies. So start with your local TV stations, either call them, email them, and ask them, are there any supply drives? I'm not sure if that's the correct term, but school supply drives going on. And if there are, where are they located? Because again, that's going to help your budget significantly. If it's nothing but getting pencils and paper, some of the more critical things that's needed for your child to be, or your children to be successful in school. The other thing I would recommend, clothing. In one of my podcasts or one of my episodes, I talked about, the one credit card you really should have in your possession is the Walmart card. Because it's multifaceted in that you can buy groceries and clothes and everything you need right there at Walmart. Again, I have no affiliation with them, only just from a single parent perspective and to help you get through some of those ad hoc expenses that you're going to incur. I recommend that, you use your Walmart card for this. If you don't have one, go ahead and try for it. Nothing beats a failure but a try. You can also try Amazon as well. Again, I have no affiliation with these particular organizations other than they are a great resource for ad hoc expenses related to your children. With Walmart, you might want to make sure your child has socks, shoes, and so forth. This is an opportunity to use that card for this expense. And hopefully you saved money from earlier in the year where you can just pinch off of that for your back to school resources so it doesn't become a burden, because it is what it is. And I know when my kids were in school, not only did I have to buy school supplies, but I also had to pay the school fee. There were fees involved, not to mention lunch and so forth. So it can become a little bit expensive, okay? And not necessarily expensive, but additional funds that you may not have and that you'll need to come up with rather quickly. So you need to plan for that. Now, as far as organization, again, these tips that I'm giving are in no particular order. So just hope you just find value in what I'm sharing with you today. So the children should have their clothes picked out, what they're going to wear. And this is a great opportunity to allow them to pick it out and you approve, if that makes sense. So that's giving them some ownership, getting ready for school. I think that's a fantastic idea to give them that level of independence. And then if it's not quite right, then you can go back and ask them why you chose this versus that type of thing, or why'd you put this color with that color? Because they may come up with some strange things, but let them do it. I think it's a great exercise for them, and then you can come behind them and either approve it or make additional recommendations. Definitely need to do that the night before school, and I think doing it too far, a week in advance is too far ahead, but definitely the night before, giving them that independence. The other thing the kids really should do early, you should start like maybe 2 weeks in advance, is let them develop or have them start developing good sleep habits. Now, I had my kids going to bed at 9 o'clock. No ifs, ands, or buts. It was just 9 o'clock. And my son, he teases me today. Yeah, Mom, you had us going to bed all early, and now I still kind of got in the mix that I can't stay up past 9. Of course, he's exaggerating a little bit, but the reality is 9 o'clock, that's it. Yep, lights out. Now, you may not be asleep, but you're in the bed at 9 o'clock. So at 8 o'clock, we started the process of getting showers and getting clothes out for the next day and just doing everything, prepping, brushing teeth, all of that stuff, making sure homework is completed, double checking. That started at 8 p.m. because by 9, you're in the bed. Again, you may not be asleep, but you're going to be in the bed. One of the things, my daughter, she is and always has been a night owl. She's been a challenge, bless her heart, for quite a while, ever since I had her. She's just a person that is a night owl. And when I say night owl, it's difficult for her to go to sleep at a reasonable time frame. For example, 9 o'clock. What do you do to get your children to go to sleep at a reasonable time without drugs? Absorb that, ladies. We don't want to give our children melatonin and whatever else is out there or a sleep aid to put them to sleep. So here's something you can try for those children that are like wired, anxious. Have them run in place for like 5 minutes or maybe more. because what that does is going to get their heart rate up. It's going to get them really energized. And by the time they do or complete that 5 minute or more running in place, guess what? That's going to start to relax them. That's going to start to mellow them out. This is going to allow them to finally just kind of lay down, because all that anxiety is of not wanting to sleep is just that. It's just they have all this energy and they just need to literally run it off. And once they run it off, it's going to bring that relaxation to them, to allow them to finally wind down and go to sleep. The other thing you can try is, if you have artificial intelligence in your home, play some calming music. I mentioned in prior episodes, I love smooth jazz. Maybe that's an option to help your child or your children just relax. Or you can just ask your artificial intelligence, play some calming noise. Maybe a babbling brook or a creek or ocean waves. All of those things could potentially help your child finally go to sleep. Okay, or you could pay this podcast for them. I'm sure that'll put them to sleep. Just kidding. Come on, ladies. We gotta have a little fun, but it might work. I don't know. Anyway, let me move on. But anyway, so that night before, start 2 weeks in advance, letting them start the process of going to bed. And again, my kids, it was 9 o'clock. I think that's more than fair. And if you say, well, 9 o'clock is kind of early, then 9:30. I wouldn't really push it past 9:30, ladies. Seriously, I would not. This allows your child to get a good night's sleep. Now, here's the other thing you can do too. Instead of always giving them breakfast or cold cereal in the morning, how about making some pancakes and some sausage and some eggs, bacon the night before, and just heating it up in the morning? And guess what? You just started them on a good routine of having a good breakfast. Put it all together the night before. And again, if you're like me, you're not a morning person, you're not about to stand over nobody's stove and fix any hot meal, right? I mean, that's just the fact. And that's why it's easy just to give the child some cereal and send them on their way. And that's okay. You just wouldn't want to do it every day, because you want to make sure they have a good breakfast. And then also the breakfast sandwiches, like Jimmy Dean, you could probably purchase and you could heat those up. Not sure how good those are. You can try it, and maybe at least once or twice in the week, ladies. Just fix your child a good, nice breakfast, wrap it up, put it in the microwave so it's something easy to reheat, and they're good to go. They're good to go. And there's probably some other tips and tricks out there to do with breakfast as well. But that's what I would start with. And then, because we always hear about the kids are not getting a good breakfast. They get to school, they're hungry. Some schools may have breakfast, some may not. I don't know. There may be an additional expense involved with that. Again, I don't know. So how do we overcome that? Let's be proactive. Let's just make those waffles or those pancakes or French toast. Yum, yum, yum. I'm making myself hungry here. Fix that the night before. Put it in the microwave, cover it up, and all they have to do is hit 30 and heat it up. And knowing kids like I do, it's not going to take them any time to eat that breakfast and keep it moving, especially boys. So we talked about sleep habits. Let's talk about the orientation at school and meeting the teacher. And with all this school violence and everything going on, you would definitely want to go to school with your child or children, meet the teacher, look at the school so that you have a good comfort level. with the security of the school. So if your child has questions, or if they're like, Mom, I'm afraid to go into school because I'm sure they may have heard about the shootings that have occurred, and you can reassure them of what security parameters they have in place. And you can always ask when you go to the orientation as well to meet the teacher. This is also a great time to develop a relationship with that teacher, right? Get to know her or him, just their background and so forth, giving you an opportunity to learn who they are. You know, it shouldn't always be the teacher asking questions or informing you about different things going on. You should want to know and reach out to that teacher and just make sure you feel comfortable with who they are, that they're teaching your children, right? In a prior episode of the podcast, I asked about or advised about, developing questions, right? And I think it was my episode about parent-teacher alliances. If you want to go back and listen to that one, there's additional details there. But as far as questions you can ask, definitely meet your child's teacher with your child so that they know that you know who their teacher is and they see you two talking. And so that's going to help with behavioral issues, ladies, as I mentioned before, because once you develop that relationship with the teacher, your child knows like, they're going to tell mom. At least that's how it used to be. But that's something you would definitely want to do. The other thing I would have a discussion with the teacher about is, and they may not share it, and if they do, then that's great. Interim reports, again, back when I was in school, along the way, they would send an interim report home to say, this is where your child is. This is how well they're doing or not doing in this subject. So it gives you time to address any concerns, ask questions. So one of the things I would ask the teacher is when interim reports come out, and since we all have smartphones, open your calendar, identify that date that they tell you or that week. I'm sure they can't give you an exact date, but at least the week they plan on producing that interim report, and put that in there. Because again, children are children. They're not doing well. Guess what? They're not going to be anxious for you to see that, Mom. They're not going to be anxious for you to see that. I know I wasn't anxious for my mama to see it because I already knew. Put that in your calendar just in case you don't get it, and you can follow up with the teacher. I will also put in your calendar report cards, dates, when those would be sent out in case you don't get it, and you can follow up with the teacher or your child. I would start with the teacher first, and then once the teacher said, yep, I sent it, or we sent it last week or last Friday, and a whole week has passed, we need to be looking into some book bags. And looking into book bags should be a regular function that you should complete because you just never know what you might find. Just something to think about, ladies. All right. Okay, so we talked about sleep habits, and then also practicing getting up in the morning in a timely manner, setting that alarm clock 2 weeks in advance. Let's go ahead and get you in habit of doing that, right? Because it's going to be important to get them prepared when school starts. Let's talk about homework. Not sure of your living conditions or arrangements. Some single moms are fortunate enough to have like an area where they can set up for their child or children to do homework. Mine was the dining room table. And I'm not sure what your situation is, but now that we are living in the COVID area, there are so many options available for your children. So for instance, if you don't really have a space in your area where you can set that up for homework, they have what they call lap desks now, and it's so cool because you can open it and they can store their pencils, pens, or whatever, their school supplies in that desk, and they can sit wherever with that desk on top. That is awesome. So again, if you don't have a particular area where you can have a actual desk, then you might want to look at something more portable to help your child as they have to do their homework. Again, you should have a routine set for that. You know, when they get out of school, I wouldn't recommend they do homework right away when they get home. Let them get a little bit of a break. Let's decompress after being at school all day and having the teacher in your face and learning. Just give them a break, a mental break when they get out of school, and not having them do homework immediately. I would recommend, since we already have this timetable of saying, you know what, at 8 o'clock, things are starting to get in motion for them to prepare for the following day. So I would say between 7 and 8, let's do homework. Again, I think that's the next. So you would have a good 3-4 hours go by where they can decompress and just kind of focus on just having fun and relaxing and eating and doing whatever after school. 7 o'clock, between 7 and 8, that's your homework time. You go in, study, review, and then I would suggest when they get done, have them bring it to you. Today's homework, we may not understand everything that was taught, and I'm just going to say that in my out loud voice, but you definitely want to check just to make sure it's done. They didn't do 1 or 2 and said, I'm done. When there's 10 questions or 10 problems on there, just check it. Just look for completeness. And then also look at some of the answers, especially if they have to write that out. I don't know if they still do that or not these days. Check their answers and then ask them, why did you choose this? Just again, to create that dialogue with them. Wait to see what the teacher has to say and what kind of grade they get afterwards. So that's something you would definitely want to follow up on. So again, this is a way, use your smartphone, and you have a recording option on your phone, and you can just speak it, hey, follow up. We'll use the child's name as Corey. Follow up on Corey's English homework that talked about XYZ PDQ. Ask Corey to see it. This is your way of following up. And you can also put a follow-up in your phone to remind you, or if you have AI, artificial intelligence, you can ask that to remind you. But it's probably easier just to put it in your phone, because if you're out and about, your artificial intelligence is at home, it could be just spewing out, hey, don't forget to check Corey's homework. Don't forget to check Corey's homework. You're not here to hear that. But if it's in your phone, it's a reminder like, oh, let me go ahead and do that wherever you may be. Hopefully you're at home. But if you're not, it's still reminding you to make sure you take care of that. Okay, so we talked about the lap desk. Make sure wherever their area is that they're doing homework, let's make sure it's quiet. If they have a cell phone, take the phone away from them. TV, all of that, so that they can truly concentrate on their homework. Because remember, ladies, eventually you're going to have to let your child go, or your children go into the world. And they have got to be able to be successful in the world. So if you say, yeah, they can have their phone, they can do this, they can do that, we're not setting our children up for success with that type of mentality, because that's what this is all about. At the end of the day, we want to release our children to the world to be successful in the world. Okay? If we're not setting them up for success, then what is the opposite of success? Failure. And that's a word we do not want to have come out of our mouth. Let's start doing things that know they'll be successful. And guess what? You can even tell your child that, if they talk back, heaven forbid, but, Mom, I need my phone, or I need this, I need that. Baby, I'm just trying to get you set up for success. It's a tough world out here. And this is the path, this is the road to travel to be successful in the world. You got to know these things. You got to start learning. Learning is critical. And this is the best time because you have no additional responsibilities. And guess what? When you become an adult, oh boy, you're going to wish you were a child again. I know there are days where I'm like, I just don't want to be an adult today. That's just me personally. I remember what it was like when I had no bills or issues or things like that. I just wanted to be a child again. Don't want to be an adult. Children should learn school is important and why they need to do what they need to do, why they have to have this time set aside to do their homework and be able to concentrate and be successful with it. And guess what kind of elation they're going to experience when they get that A? Like, oh, wow, yeah, I studied and wow, I got all the answers right. Wow, that's a great feeling. That's an excellent feeling. Ask me how I know. Ask me how I know. Been there, done that. Okay. All right. So let's move on from the homework and let's talk about, again, lunch. Most schools have lunch programs. Definitely enroll in that if you're on a budget or public assistance to make sure your child is getting proper lunch every day. The other thing I would recommend, if the schools offer it, if they provide any kind of report related to the expenses and your child eating and so forth. And I know you're like, well, why would I need that? Well, you would want to know that your child is eating. And this is a way to confirm that and see what they're eating. If the school has that, are they taking advantage of that? And then as far as packing lunches, God bless you. I'm not sure how many people do that anymore. I know that was an old school thing, but if you're packing your child's lunch, well, God bless you. You are all that in a bag of chips. The only downside to that is if there are hot lunches at the school and where they're going to store their food and so forth. So that gets kind of quirky. You don't want stuff to go bad or be stale or get lost. And then they get to school and they're hungry and I don't have anything to eat because I don't know what happened to my lunch or somebody stole it. Who knows? Either way, so in this instance, ladies, I would recommend you just do snacks. And there's all kind of snacks available out there. And I'm not saying candy or anything like that. But those bars that you could, breakfast bars, things like that, you can also put into their backpack. And I would recommend that. And also maybe a small bottle of water to help wash it down. If they get recess breaks, again, I've been out of school for so long and my kids have been out of school for so long, especially elementary and middle school. I don't know what they have as it relates to recess and so forth, where your child could possibly eat that nutritious bar or the protein bar or whatever kind of bar it is. But I would recommend you buy those for a snack and just get the school lunch option. And then that should cover them. And you will probably want to put 2 bars in there, one for the morning, one for the afternoon. Again, especially for boys, they stay hungry. So you might want to do 2 bars to help cover that emptiness until they eat again later in the day. Okay, now I think that covers everything as far as the routine is concerned and getting them prepared for back to school. Again, if the child is like me, it's like, ugh, I got to get up early in the morning again. And so it's going to have to be a transition process, ladies. You're going to have to gently introduce timing and getting them into bed and sticking to it, because this is all about their future. In the real world, once you start a career or they start a career, they're going to have to get up in the morning. They're going to have to do this. They're going to have to. So this is introducing them to real life. And you can explain it to them that way. This is why you're going to bed, because in real life, you're going to work every day and you got to get up and get out. You got to get motivated. All right, ladies. I truly, truly, truly hope you enjoyed today's episode of It's Time to Go Back to School. If you did and you found value, please share with another single mom that may need some encouragement or some advice. Again, this is not a one-size-fits-all, but it's just here to help you think on ways to assist your child and you as the single parent in being successful in some areas of life. I do have some good news coming in the future podcast, so encourage you to follow me either on Spotify or Apple, however you're listening to me, to hear upcoming episodes. And also tell a friend. And then some good news is coming real soon as far as expanding this podcast. Have a great day, ladies. Have a fantastic week. Encourage one another. Encourage another single mom. And finally, tell your children that you love them. Tell them that you're proud of them. Take care, ladies.